Is Jelly Bean from Creatively Dropped Stitches, and I'm doing this video because well, I don't like the video that's floating around of the little hearts done on the loom. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's no sound. I'm a person that not only needs to see it, but I need to hear it as well. I know that sounds weird, but anyway. So I'm going to do it again myself, kind of show you how I do it. And hopefully that will clarify some things. Literally, it took me 20 times to watch this video before the light bulb went on. I'm like, oh, that's how she does it. So, and I noticed that there were several comments that were like, I don't understand because I can't hear it. There's no sound. So what you're going to need is a 12 peg flower loom. You're going to need a crochet hook of any size. I use the G hook. Again, it doesn't matter. She uses a needle, but I found it easier for the hook because you don't have to worry about getting the yarn through the needle and so on and so on. You also need a looming hook and a thread of any kind. So I'm going to stand up and kind of show you. Is I'm trying to figure out how I can do this. Let's see. That'll work. You're going to take your yarn and you're going to make a slip knot. You're going to put it on the end here. What you're going to do is tighten it, and you're going to do what's called a drawstring cast on. And it's basically all you do. If you don't know how to do that, there's videos on YouTube that show you how to do it, but to walk you through it, you go in between each peg, behind and front, 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 behind, and then you'll end up where it'll look like that, where this is your working yarn, and then this is the original cast on for the drawstring. I'm going to push all my strings down to the bottom of the loom. And now what you're going to do, for those that don't know how to do a cast on or a drawstring, you're going to take your hook and you're going to start working the bottom stitch over your working yarn. And you're going to do this 4 times, which is basically the knit stitch 4 times. Okay. Okay, now you're back to your center peg. You've already done your cast on, but you're not done. So this is your first round. And you're going to do this 3 more times. Now the directions for the little heart says to do it twice, and then on the 3rd row you would skip a peg. But I found in working with it, if I did it 4 times, skipped a peg on the 5th row, that it looked a lot nicer, and that could be because of the type of yarn that I'm using. I don't know. So that's 2. Well, technically 2. I'm not quite done to the end. And I apologize for my fingers. I also have cerebral palsy in my fingers, and I'm severely double jointed, so I'm not really giving anybody the middle finger, really. It's just the way I hold. I'll tuck my finger underneath the loom. Alright, so now that's 2. Sure. Second row. This really isn't hard to do. Honest to Pete, it isn't. But like I said, because there was no sound on the video, and again, I'm not saying the video was bad. I thought it was a very good video. However, because she went so fast and there was no sound, I literally had to rewind and watch again and rewind. But you know what they say? Practice makes perfect. The more times you watch YouTube, the better it sinks in. That's why I like YouTube videos. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2. I forget to on how many rows I do sometimes. So if you accidentally go over the amount, it's not going to really hurt the pattern, so to speak, as long as you bind off the same way. I think this is my 3rd row. Again, because of my ADHD, I often forget, which sometimes I have a stitch counter. However, somehow mine went MIA. So if you can remember to do your basic flat stitch or your knit stitch for 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 1 more. We're going to do the 4th one. And again, it's not going to really mess up the pattern. I just think it makes the shape look a little bit more enhanced, so to speak. Whoops. Slipped a stitch, which is fine. That's completely normal. Sorry. It's going to happen. You're going to pop a stitch off. Just put it right back on. And that's the beauty of this pattern. It is not difficult. This is one of the easiest projects that I've done. Sorry. Like I said, I've just slipped a stitch here. You can see. It's not a big deal. You just take your hook, pop it back on the loom, and keep going. And it's a good thing that this is easy because I have 500 of these to make by October 1st, because it is the it's a 5K for a family of boys whose mother and father had passed away. They were killed by a drunk driver. So, and the mother liked red. Okay, so now you've done 4 rows. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your working yarn right here, and you're going to skip this peg right here. You're just going to go behind the peg and knit off this one and go back all the way around until you get to this peg, this peg, I'm sorry. So I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so what you're going to do, you've skipped this peg. So we're just going to go back in the opposite direction, and you're basically doing a flat panel stitch. There, Again, I'm going to repeat this because I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not flipping anybody off. It's just, if you look at my fingers, I'm severely double jointed, so that's how I hold my loom when I'm trying to videotape. Okay. Alright. And you just keep knitting until you get to the end of the row, and then I'll just show you how to bind off. Okay. You're going to also have to count too, and I'll tell you why in 2 seconds. Because you're going to have to keep attention at the beginning of your bind off about how many pegs you're going to skip. And when you get to the 5th peg, there's one important step that you need to do. Again, it sounds difficult, but it really is not. Okay, so now you're back to your end. Now you're back to the end peg right here. You do not knit this peg because this is the one you picked. This is the peg that you had skipped at the beginning. So now you're going to go ahead. Here's your working yarn. You're going to skip this peg here, the one that you just finished on, and you're going to knit here. You knit the one next to it. Okay, so here I am knitting the one next to it. Now you're going to take this loop here. You're going to start your bind off. You're going to take this loop, put it on the peg next to it, which is the peg that you had just skipped, and you're going to knit off. Now you have an empty peg. What you're going to do is you're going to take this peg and put it next to it. You're going to take your working yarn, Bring it in front of the first two. 1, 2. Or 1, 1, 2. Bring your working and bring it behind the third peg, so that way it just holds it. Knit off. Okay. And basically what this is, if I'm correct, and don't quote me because I've been known to be wrong a lot. I'm not perfect. You're going to take your, like I said, if I'm correct, that's just your basic bind off. You're going to take the peg off this one that you just knitted, bring it back over to this one, and knit off. Then you're going to take that stitch and put it back on the peg that is empty. Again, you're going to take your working yarn, bring it over in front of the 2, but behind the 3rd, knit off. It's really weird watching myself do this. I'm just going to tell you this because I'm watching myself do this and I'm thinking I'm doing it wrong when I'm actually doing it backwards because it's the mirror effect. You're going to do another transfer. And I hope this is sounding right because I've never had to redo an instructional video. Okay. You're going to count your pegs, 1, 2, 3. Now you need to do 2 more bind offs and then we'll stop and I'll show you what the next step is. So you're going to do it again, bring it in front of the pegs, behind the 3rd to hold it, knit off. And I apologize. Like I said, I have ADD and sometimes I just get going and I'm like, oh. So I don't mean to confuse anybody. I'm just trying to basically make sound with this video because the original one did not have sound. It was very confusing. I'm going to do it one more time. In the front, knit off. And go from there. And do a transfer. Go from there. Oh, and you're going to need a pair of scissors. I forgot to, just again, like I said, the whole ADHD, I apologize. So now you're going to count your pegs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 empty pegs. On the 6th peg, you're going to take your working yarn. You're going to knit counterclockwise. It's going to look like that. Knit off. Counterclockwise, and then you're gonna knit clockwise, knit off, counterclockwise, knit off, and clockwise, knit off. So you're basically doing 2 clockwise, 2 counterclockwise. Some people do it all at once, like 2 clockwise, knit, 2 counterclockwise, but I kind of alternate it. It's easier for me. And then what you're going to do is like we did before, where you take your working yarn, bring it in front of your front pegs, hold it, knit off, sometimes it gets stuck, do your transfer, and you're going to basically keep doing that until you get to the end. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. Oops. And sometimes I forget myself to do the whole knitting in the front, and I'm like, oh. But I promise you, it's not. Hope it will come out right. Like I said, normally for me it takes about 10 minutes to make a heart. It's not a big deal. Oops. Kinda do what I'm doing. And do it again. We're actually making pins out of these. Sorry. Again, my hand gets in the way. Again, I'm not busting on the original video because she did a really good job. She just went too fast for me and I couldn't understand it. Plus, just like her, like I'm doing and I'm trying not to do, her hands kind of blocked some of the view. But if you basically get the idea, it's in front of the pegs, knit, and then do your transfer. Okay, so now you've done your basic bind off. You're going to need to get a pair of scissors and cut this. So hang on just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so now you're going to cut. Take it off the loom. Actually, your best bet is take off this portion here first. Okay, pull it down. Pick up your extra string. Pull it off. What you're going to do is you're going to tie a knot. Make sure you tie it fairly tight so that it isn't going to come undone. So now, this is what it's gonna look like. I know it doesn't look like a heart yet, but it will, trust me. So what you're gonna do with your strand that you did the cast on, you're gonna gently pull. And you're gonna have to kind of pull in both directions because it's gonna be stubborn. And it's gonna not wanna do it. And it's gonna be mean. At least mine is anyway. I don't know how anybody else's is, but it's worse than a man sometimes. Kidding for all those men out there. I'm not busting on anybody. Alright, so now, here's what your heart looks like. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take your crochet hook, and through the little hole, you're going to take your working yarn, and basically you don't even have to know how to crochet. It's just enough to pull it up, put it through, cinch it tight. Do that at least twice. Like I said, you can be as critical as you want. I really don't care. Won't hurt my feelings. And then when you're done, take your scissors, trim off as much axis as it will allow you to without cutting your heart. You don't want to break the heart, you know. And there you go. You have a fancy, dancy little heart. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if it gets back to the original video poster for the original video, I'm not busting on your video. It was great, but it had no sound. And for the people that needed sound, I hope this was as clear as I could make it, because that's the information that I got from watching her video. Again, my name's Jelly Bean from Creatively Drop Stitches. Have a wonderful day.